My name is Anindita and I am a functional medicine certified health coach and a practitioner, and I'm so happy that you are here today. Um, Many people either skip this step completely, or they do not prioritize this when they are creating long-term health, right? And that's what I'm going to talk about. So I was on the phone the other day with somebody who wanted to work with me, and she has multiple health issues. She's been under various treatments, surgery, multiple surgeries, and has various diagnoses over years of dealing with different of these health conditions. And she had actually already worked with a functional medicine practitioner. Of course, she is working with conventional medicine doctors as well, but she's has also worked with a functional medicine practitioner, trying to figure out what's really going on. Why does she have, she keeps developing these multiple diagnoses, these diseases, and try and figure out if she can address the root causes, right? And as a result of working with the functional medicine practitioner, she was already put on some supplements. She was not prescribed, but she was recommended some dietary changes, which she did. So she had made a lot of changes in her life, etc. And these are very a necessary part of the whole healing process, right? So we know intuitively that if we are dealing with any kind of chronic health condition, food plays a big role. So she knew that, and she had made certain changes. There were certain functional medicine testing that had been done. So there was a lot of data, right? So there was a lot of information. But what was not there and what was missing is what I'm talking about, which is that she felt unmotivated and unsupported, right? She felt that she was left to deal with all of these changes, all the daily steps that you need to take all by herself, right? And that's something that many people deal with when they're trying to make certain changes in their lifestyle, in their diet, in their environment. They are often not supported the way they need to, right? We need to know what we can do on a day-to-day basis, and this is something that I hear again and again and again from my clients before they start working with me, right? They know, okay, these are the, I need to maybe go off gluten, etc. But how do I do that, right? What are the substitutes? How do I really go about it? Where do I start, right? And when we spoke and I shared about the process that I follow in my program, she signed up immediately, right? She realized that this was the missing piece. This whole body approach, this approach of being able to tune into your body's wisdom, so that you can get the guidance that you need as you go along this journey, was what was missing so far in whatever kind of protocols that she had followed. And why was it missing? Because of what I'm about to share with you today. Why and what exactly was missing is what I'm going to share with you. And this step-by-step approach is key to sustainability, because not only getting well is not the only objective. It is also equally important to stay well, right? And I find that not laying a strong foundation first when it comes to creating long-term health is often missed out on, right? Are you have you done enough to really lay the foundation brick by brick? Again, that if you want to build a strong house, right, or any building or anything really, the foundation has to be really strong, and that's really missing from many modalities, many kind of treatments. So this brick by brick approach is what is actually missing, which is why people do see results, right? So it's not that if you go off gluten or dairy, you may or may not see the results, because that is often not the only thing that you need to do, but there might be some improvements, etc. But what is often missing is the rest of it, right? The support, the mindset that you need to develop. And whether it's and what happens is, the other flip side of it is that there is a lot of and too much of focus only right at the beginning, right? It's, of course, each a step-by-step approach is necessary, as I mentioned, but too much of focus right at the beginning is on lowering certain levels, right? So whether it might be high cholesterol markers, or high triglyceride levels, or maybe fasting insulin, fasting blood sugar, of course they are all important and they need to be addressed. But there is a time and there is a place and there is a process that needs to be followed. And just focusing on all these and trying to get them down as quickly as possible, I find that a lot of times, even in the functional medicine space, we move from relying on medications to do this, maybe a statin for cholesterol, etc., to move to supplements to do this, right? Maybe a supplement which can help to lower the triglycerides or cholesterol. But what is missing is actually the foundation, the piece that you need to lay before that, right? And it can be done simultaneously, which is what I do in my practice. But just focusing on getting the markers down and celebrating this, and this is something that I find which is common. Of course it is worth celebrating that we've got some of these levels down, but what else has been done, right? What is something that needed to be prioritized now that is often missing, and that's a problem, because what happens when you stop working with a functional medicine practitioner or somebody who's helping you with all this. When you stop working with that person, you may often resort to your habits, your behavioral patterns, because your mindset have not really changed, right? Your approach has not really changed. So developing that right mindset is key. And how do you do that? By following a step-by-step process, and as I mentioned, by laying the foundation. Because again, the results will be short-lived, because the client or the person has not prepared mentally and emotionally to continue with this journey, like long after they have stopped working with the practitioner. And that's something that I'm proud to say, that that my clients actually see as a result of working with me for as less time as 3 months. Now actually I just have 6-month programs, so for 6 months. But even when and I'm going to share with you one story of such a client. And even when they stop working with me, even 3 years down the line, in this particular case, a lot of what we had discussed and laid down together, a lot of things, that changes that we had made at that time 3 years ago, she's able to actually sustain till date, right? And that's because we have developed a lot of practices. We have worked on the mental and emotional side of things. A lot of the fundamentals which often go missing, right? And which is what people get wrong about creating long-term health. These are the things that you need to focus on first. The foundation has to be laid first, and that cannot be put off till the end. You can of course do multiple things. You can do testing, you can do supplementation, right? You can take supplements if your if your practitioner recommends that. All that is fine, but if you're not laying the foundation first, you will, even if you see the results, is usually short-lived. And what do I mean by strong foundation, right? I've been talking about this. I'm talking about why this is important for creating good health, over long and sustaining it over long periods of time. So what I mean by strong foundation is things like eating hygiene. Right? We are told what to eat, but so whether we should go off gluten or dairy, or maybe soy or other things that we are intolerant to. Maybe a food intolerance report has come and we show that we are also intolerant to certain other foods, and of course we need to go off them, which is all fine. But have you been told to watch how you're eating, right? Are you eating in a stressed state? Because just by being stressed, having high stress levels when you're eating can actually reduce your production of stomach acid by as much as 70 to 80%, which has a cascading impact on not only your nutrient absorption levels like protein, amino acids, etc., B12, iron, other key minerals, but also on the secretion of digestive enzymes, right? We need strong stomach acid production to also prevent bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine. So there's a lot of cascading consequences that take place. So have you been told how to incorporate eating hygiene right from the start, right? Not just the diet part of it. This is one of the key foundational practices that I implement right at the beginning when I start working with any client. Mindful eating practices, right? Again, savoring every bite. Like, are we really taught how to really enjoy the food? It's not about just gritting our way through gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, keto, paleo diet, right? Just sort of gritting our way through because we've been told that we need to follow this certain diet. And this diet mentality, what happens is that we are most often not able to sustain it. We are not able to enjoy it. But again, mindful eating practices, and I do this with a piece of chocolate or a raisin. This is a beautiful way of showcasing what it truly means to pay attention to the foods that you are eating, to the foods that actually, so that you can start enjoying them, right? And it's then much easier to sustain many of these things. Then something like sleeping hygiene. Sleep is such an underrated tool that we have that is often missed out, right? If we are not getting adequate sleep, one is the quantity, but the other thing is the quality. If you're not getting the kind of deep sleep, the REM sleep, all the different phases of sleep, our bodies are not able to recover, repair, regenerate, right? So sleeping hygiene, and what is key to getting good sleep, good quality sleep, is often a lack of good sleeping hygiene. A bedtime routine, a bedtime ritual. So again, for example, with my clients, just the other day I was I was coaching someone, and so sleep was a big issue for her. So one of the things that I actually recommended for her was an Epsom salt, soaking her feet in a tub of bucket of Epsom salt just before bedtime, with infused with lavender. So these are some of the, maybe sipping green tea. So it depends on, of course, the person. These are just some of the things that are, you can incorporate in your daily routine, because these are important, and they all, these prepare your body and your brain to help you sleep better, and obviously to, get better, right? Then another thing, another way of laying a strong foundation would be to learn how to read the ingredients and nutrition labels on packaged foods, right? While we are, I'm all for unprocessed, fresh, wholesome foods, it is a fact that sometimes we need to travel, and I have to give my clients some alternatives, as typically as snacks, if they are traveling and they're in the plane and they don't get the food that they want. So there is, we need to have certain foods that can help us, so that we don't reach for the wrong things. So we are prepared, and I give them a list of certain foods that they can, carry or look out for. But learning how to read the ingredient labels also is important. So because when they stop working with me, they will be looking at at some packaged foods and maybe minimally processed foods. They need to know what is a minimally processed food. They need to know what to look out for when they look at the the packet, right? So these are things which actually lay the foundation. Then it might be knowing what are the food substitutes, right? If I'm going off this food, then what are the substitutes that I can have, right? And why am I substituting it? Because when I know why I'm substituting it, it becomes much easier to continue with that. So what are the things that I'm substituting? What are the alternatives that I have? So I give a whole handout on that. Then it can be nourishment, nourishing your mind, body and soul. It's not enough to just focus on food. How are you nourishing your soul, for example, right? So whether maybe it's a savoring ritual, maybe it's lighting a candle. That's something that I really enjoy. When I'm stressed, when I'm feeling low, I have these soy based, essential oil based, so natural fragrance candles, which I light and which I also actually gift my clients and my friends. So this can be kind of a ritual which teaches you how to savor your life, and enjoy each moment, no matter what pain and discomfort you might be in. Increasing body awareness and learning how to tap into body's wisdom, right, for guidance. Your body will be the best guide that you will ever have, right? And I've talked about this. My whole program actually is based on this premise. So learning how to tap into that wisdom is key to a sustainable, healing practice. So just focusing on external data is not enough and is usually not as effective, right? You need to also factor in what your body is telling you in terms of symptoms, in terms of messages that it's sending you every day. But we need to be still enough to listen to it. We need to be open. We need to know how to listen to it. So this forms a big part. And something like self-compassion and dealing with the inner critic. I'm going to share with you actually a story about a client who had this particular issue. So I was working with a client about 3 years ago. I worked with her for about, I think, 6 months, and she is a medical professional. I'm very much in touch with her till date, and very committed to changing her diet, her lifestyle, very enthusiastic, and do whatever is necessary to get better. Right? She was on multiple medications, and she was well aware of the what are the underlying causes, some of the underlying causes at least of her health issues, and what needed to be done. Right? She is also a deeply spiritual person with a meditation practice, spanning I think more than 3 decades. And while of course I provided the support that she needed in terms of her diet, her lifestyle, maybe removing toxins from her environment, so what are the products that she needed to remove and use, etc., personal care, all of that. It was the work that we did on her mindset and her approach towards her healing practice that actually had a big impact, and that was a game changer, right? So, like many of us, right, she was not very forgiving of her own mistakes. She was very hard on herself and was unaware of the consequences of constantly listening to our inner critic. So our inner critic is that little voice which tells us we are not good enough, we are not worthy enough, we are making all these mistakes, and this is how it's going to be, we are never going to change, so all of these things that it is constantly telling us. And after she worked with me, she realized how this was actually keeping her stuck, how this was keeping her from living her best life, from improving her health, right, being happy. And when she was asked to reflect on her top 3 achievements, she shared that number 1 was learning how to be mindful in her daily life, right? To how to savor each moment, pay attention to her life as it is right now. Number 2 was self-forgiveness. She didn't realize that she needed to forgive herself often. We are all human, we make mistakes, we are our own harshest critic actually, and forgiveness plays a big role. So does compassion if you have to move forward, if you have to sustain what we are trying to achieve. And finally, it was making healthier dietary choices. But if you notice, the dietary choices came last in that top 3 achievements, right? So this is, diet of course played a big role, and the other things that we did, lifestyle changes, they all played a big role. But without the other 2 missing pieces, her results would probably have been short-lived. So even now, when we connect, I know that she's been able to sustain many of the things that we did and put in place 3 years ago, right? So the point is not that we should not be doing testing, we should not be taking supplements, we should not be making other changes, removing toxins, managing stress. All of it is equally important, but we often miss out on what needs to be top priority, especially at the beginning. That's what we miss out on, and that is creating a healing environment. And creating a healing environment is a necessary first step and a part of laying a strong foundation. Without that healing environment, your body does not get the message, your immune system, and I work primarily with women with autoimmune conditions, so your immune system does not get the message that it is safe and sound, for us to lower our cortisol levels, for us to let down our guard, lower the blood pressure. So all of the things that goes with high chronic stress levels, right? So creating the healing environment is necessary, right? Without that, you can't really do much. And in my own program, Healing from Within, I have a framework which stands on 3 pillars, so that so this is exactly how my clients are able to do because of these 3 pillars, and my clients are supported every step of the way. These pillars lay the foundations of long-term good health, right? So this framework, I have developed over a period of 5 years. We're working with women with multiple health issues, and now with severe chronic health conditions like autoimmune disease. And these 3 pillars are simplify, reconnect, and sustain, right? So simplification, simply because, before I get to that, I believe that health creation is like a journey, right? We often grit our way through when we are undergoing any treatment, when we are dealing with any kind of chronic health issues, and believe me, I have done that myself, but that's not, but typically that's when we are working against our body. And Sonia, thank you for joining. I'm not taking any guests on this particular session, but I would love to, if you have any questions, do drop it in the comments and I'll be sure to address that. And maybe in the future I'll be taking in guests live, right? So thank you for joining. So coming back to what I was saying, that health creation is actually like a journey, right? And it's a journey that you embark upon. So thinking of it this way makes it much easier for us to continue and sustain whatever we are doing. I get it. It's really tough. It's tough to change our diet. It's tough to change our lifestyle, the way we have been living all this while. It's tough to let go of our identity. There's so many things that change when we are not well, when we are trying to sort of get well, right? So there are quite a few challenges, and it's never a smooth journey, like smooth sailing. There's always ups and downs, right? So it's really hard, and thinking of this whole event or the process as a journey really helps, right? Because while the destination is clear, this is what we want to move towards. This is, we might be, if you're working with me, then you set in place some health and wellness goals. The journey needs also to be as enjoyable and as pleasurable as possible. No matter what you are going through, there will be moments in your life that you can actually pay attention to. You will find that even if for brief moments, you will find a way to really savor that. And actually that's what I was talking about. That's a part of laying a strong foundation. So it's learning how to, one of the things that I talked about was savoring moments, right? Having a savoring ritual. And that's going to be different for everyone. So these small things really matter. And only then you will be able to sustain it when things become tough. So this framework forms a roadmap for the journey, right? So this is what I was talking about. And the first pillar basically is simplify. So it simplifies the entire process for you, because I find that a lot of times it gets very overwhelming, right? The whole process gets very overwhelming. So simplifying the process is important. The second pillar, which is reconnect, helps you to reconnect with your body and get the message that it needs from your body, because that awareness has to actually come in. And the third is to learn how to sustain the improvements by prioritizing what is important, right? What is necessary. And finally, put in place a long-term and sustainable healthcare practice. Otherwise, it's what often happens is that once you stop working with a practitioner, you go back to square one, right? Beyond a period of time. So this entire thing is a step-by-step process where each step builds upon the previous one. And the thing is that when we rush into testing, adding supplements, focusing only on that, without being clear on the journey, without understanding, how we need to work on the foundation, we struggle, and we struggle a lot, and we ultimately may give up, or at the very least not be able to sustain the health outcomes, right? That is something that I find is unnecessary, and that's why I keep talking about it, that you need to find a way to not only get well but also stay well. And here are, as I come to the end of today's session, I'm going to share with you 3 key takeaways that you can take from today's session. So just to make it easier for you to start implementing what I have been teaching you today. The first thing is that you need to be very clear on which areas of your health you need to focus on. There is no point trying to, even if you have uncovered 20 triggers, right, for your autoimmune disease or your whatever chronic health issue that you might be dealing with, and typically there are multiple triggers. So even if you have figured that out, it's not necessary to start working with all of those 20 triggers. In fact, that is a recipe for overwhelm, right? So being very clear on which areas you need to focus on first is key. That's number 1. Number 2 is you also need to focus on some of the things which feel like mundane things, right? Which are necessary for laying a strong foundation. So eating hygiene, sleeping hygiene. So I've been talking about it today. I have shared with you a list of key aspects of what it means to lay down a strong foundation. So focusing on some of these mundane things is key. And number 3 is the approach or the mindset that you take towards your healing journey. That's also important, right? The way you approach it, if you look at it from kind of a deprivation, if you think that going off gluten and dairy is depriving you of things, that's a very different, your body will react very differently when you actually make those changes than if you take it as a mindset of getting something in return. The reason you are doing this is not to deprive yourself or torture yourself, but actually to get better, to enjoy life. So the 3 things that I mentioned that you can take as key takeaways is, number 1, you need to be very clear on what is your priority, what you need to focus on first. Maybe jot down just 2 or 3 areas. Number 2, you need to focus on some of the mundane things which are necessary for laying a strong foundation, and the approach or the mindset that you need to take towards your healing journey. It matters much more than you think. If you would like to know more about how this program can help you and sign up for the waiting list, you can schedule a free 30 minutes discovery call. You can head over to anindita.com/call, CALL, anindita.com/call, and schedule a free 30 minutes discovery call. Thank you for joining me today.